Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. After only a short while, Sitting Mountain guest showed up at the peak of the mountain. Did you call me here for drinks? Sitting Mountain guest asked as he strolled toward Ancestor. Ancestor pointed in the distance, standing beside the cliff. Look at your disciple. Luo Feng. Sitting Mountain guest looked in the direction Ancestor pointed, and saw Luo Feng sitting beside a cliff. He appeared surprised and joyful after gazing for a while, then started to laugh. Old beast god, no one in the universe can rival you on the path of 8 gods. However, this disciple of mine created a technique using the 8 engraving pictures of gold beast god. Do you admit your defeat? How can you say I'm going to lose before he even fights me? Ancestor said. Sitting Mountain guest shook his head. Stop quibbling. Ancestor didn't continue about the upcoming fight. Instead, he exclaimed, your disciple is indeed impressive. It's fair to say that he had some luck when creating the technique, but no one in history could practice the engraving pictures so well in only 180 million years without any instructions. Besides, he has comprehended the heart of Beast God, and that's why it's easier for him to comprehend the 8 engraving pictures of Gold Beast God. It's easy for him to create Universe Knight level techniques, and if he's willing to devote his time and energy, he'll be able to create the Universe Overlord level 1s as well. Even real Universe Overlords needed to spend an overwhelmingly long time to create Universe Overlord level ultimate techniques. To some extent, even those on the engraving path were better at creating techniques. Luo Feng was at least at the senior Universe Knight level when it came to his accomplishments among those who were on the engraving path. The heart of Beast God. Sitting Mountain guest looked pleased. Then he guffawed. A pleasant surprise. What a pleasant surprise, indeed. He's a golden horned beast, which makes him a descendant of beast gods. Ancestor exclaimed. His bloodline inheritance is close to Gold Beast God. And with his research into those 8 engraving pictures, he can finally comprehend the heart of Beast God. He is indeed lucky, but I can't say it's because of luck alone. Sitting Mountain guest laughed heartily. Look at you. Ancestor shook his head. No wonder Sitting Mountain guest was so proud. The accomplishments on engraving path could help lore comprehension to a great extent. There wouldn't be many barriers until Luo Feng became a Universe Overlord. Especially with the heart of Beast God. It would now be easier for him to proceed along the Beast God path. Heart of Beast God was the greatest challenge to turn from a Universe Overlord into a Universe Master, and that problem was now solved. Although it was still extremely difficult for him to become a Universe Master, he at least had a much higher chance. Sitting Mountain guest glanced at Ancestor and rejoiced inside. Little do you know that this disciple of mine obtained inherited techniques before, and he can better study the engraving pictures, with the instruction from the engraving picture of his supreme inherited technique. Regardless, it's still impressive of him to create a supreme inherited technique, and comprehend the heart of Beast God in only 180 million years. Sitting Mountain guest looked down. In front of the cliff. The energy from the sculpture of the engraving picture was equivalent to that of the 3 ultimate techniques of Universe Masters. I did it, said Luo Feng. It's an ultimate technique of Universe Masters. Luo Feng stood in front of the cliff for a long time. He felt like he was in a dream. I did it, he repeated, after 180 million years. Luo Feng was confident that he could create ultimate techniques of Universe Overlords. As for ultimate techniques of Universe Masters, it would involve some luck. Luo Feng suddenly looked to the sky and transmitted his voice. Ancestor, he said. I challenge you. Ancestor, wearing in a white cape, quickly flew in from afar. He landed on the ground and smiled at Luo Feng. You're going to challenge me, he said. Yes, answered Luo Feng. Luo Feng knew that even if he lost, he could keep doing research and trying. After all he needed to do was to defeat Ancestor within 100,000 eras. What weapon should I use? Luo Feng asked. Let's use our bare hands, shall we? Ancestor raised his left hand. This godly body of his had been transformed from other elements. Hands, said Luo Feng. He was taken aback. Hands as weapons. You've already comprehended the heart of Beast God, said Ancestor. Don't you think your hands are weapons? Luo Feng was startled. Thousands of years' worth of memories flooded back. 4 beast gods traveling in the universe, their claws, tails, and horns all contained the beast god conception. Even the spiritual force weapons were the bodies of beast gods. At this moment, Luo Feng felt as though the enormous gap between close combat and spiritual force weapons had disappeared. The techniques he had created could be used both for close combat and as spiritual force weapons. Warrior path and spiritual force leader path. They are the same. Luo Feng was bewildered. You've comprehended the heart of Beast God. Ancestor smiled. If you didn't, you had to focus on either the warrior path or the spiritual force leader path. After all, mixing them together is bad for comprehending the heart of Beast God. Besides, beast gods are naturally better at using their godly bodies to fight, which is why those on the warrior path are better at comprehending the heart of Beast God and finally become beast gods. Luo Feng nodded. Primal Chaos City leader had told him this before and insisted that he concentrate on the warrior path. However, for the past 180 million years, he had set aside the warrior path and spiritual force leader path, instead focusing on the engraving picture path. Without realizing it, he had fully comprehended the heart of Beast God. Do you still need weapons? Ancestor asked. Luo Feng smiled. If beast gods can use their claws, then I can use my hands as well. Ancestor stood still. Attack, he commanded. Luo Feng looked from afar and used the Mosha body for the combat. After all, Ancestor would also use the godly body at the same level. Countless engravings started to flow on Luo Feng's godly body, and he dashed toward Ancestor like a beam of golden light. At this moment, Luo Feng felt the beast god in his body charging his competitor. The attack contained the beast god path, and also contained ultimate techniques of universe masters. The attack was fierce and quick, faster than the Shawu wings. Break. Luo Feng arrived at where Ancestor stood. He grabbed Ancestor as his left hand became a claw, and the engravings on its fingers started to connect with each other. Ancestor waved his hand and they clashed. Ancestor took a step back. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng felt overjoyed. The memories of the beast god merged with him at this moment. Charge. Claws. Legs. Luo Feng was absorbed in the golden light, and the roaring of beast gods resounded around him. Fast. Sharp. Ancestor was suppressed. Although he tried to resist it, Luo Feng was getting more and more skilled, as if he truly were a beast god. His fingers were sharp like claws. They pierced through Ancestor's chest. Ancestor looked down, smiled, and nodded. He took a step back, and his godly body recovered. You won, he said. Luo Feng, standing in the golden light, was dazed. Had he actually defeated Ancestor? Ancestor would only perform Universe Master level pinnacle techniques, and though he could only maintain his godly body at the same level as Luo Feng's, he was still Ancestor, after all. It was a surreal feeling to have defeated Ancestor. Thank you, Ancestor, Luo Feng said respectfully. Ancestor had focused on defense from the beginning of the combat, which was why Luo Feng had been able to make better and better attacks, and thus, fully understand the way beast gods fought. No need to thank me, said Ancestor, shaking his head and smiling. I performed the best defense pinnacle techniques of Universe Masters, but I still failed to defend against you. I might have won if I had attacked first, but you will still win over me after several challenges. There's no need to waste time. Luo Feng was full of gratitude. He had benefited so much in the past 180 million years in the Beast God sector. The heart of Beast God was a pleasant surprise, and the engraving picture path was a brand new path for him. Plus, he had created an ultimate technique of the Universe Master level. Ha ha ha. A guffaw resounded around him, followed by a shadow. Sitting Mountain Guest looked at Luo Feng from afar. After 180 million years, this disciple of his had finally evolved. In the past, Luo Feng hadn't had much time to practice. He stood among the great beings because of the enormous godly body and force armor, but when it came to laws and techniques, he was significantly weaker. Yet his law comprehension and techniques had now reached an incredibly eminent level, even better than many universe overlords. "I've accumulated enough," said Sitting Mountain Guest. "I believe this disciple of mine will have an easy time becoming a universe overlord. Perhaps the only difficulty he's going to have is becoming a universe master." Sitting Mountain Guest was satisfied. Flame Emperor had disappointed him, which was why he had devoted all his resources and time to his third disciple. Fortunately, his third disciple hadn't upset him. The laughter attracted both Luo Feng and Ancestor. "Master!" Luo Feng was dazed by the shadow flying toward him. "Sitting Mountain Guest," said Ancestor with a smile. "Don't be smug. Your disciple is indeed impressive. However, don't forget that he has a golden horned beast body, and his soul has completely merged with the godly body. It's almost impossible to tell whether he's a human or a golden horned beast. Who will say no if I insist that he's a golden horned beast?" "That's between your alliance and the humans," Sitting Mountain Guest said as he landed. "It has nothing to do with me. Whether this disciple of mine belongs to the human race or Space Beast Alliance doesn't concern me at all." Luo Feng stepped forward and said, "Master." "Okay." Sitting Mountain Guest smiled and nodded. He glanced at Ancestor. "Don't forget our bet." Luo Feng's face immediately registered a look of anticipation. Previously, he had heard from Ancestor that the get between Ancestor and Teacher Sitting Mountain Guest involved his wager, a set of True Treasure series, and Teacher's wager, a piece of a pinnacle true treasure. If Ancestor lost, then he would have to bestow this set of True Treasure series to Luo Feng. This was definitely a great opportunity. For them to use these items as wagers meant the True Treasure series and the Pinnacle True Treasure must have been of comparable value. His force armor was one such Pinnacle True Treasure. And Blade River Luo, a top-tier domain-type True Treasure with an extremely strong attacking power, was comparable to force armor. It was so massive that its entire birth process had to be divided into several segments to reach completion. Thus, it was quite a sensation. It was little wonder that Flame Emperor had been so reluctant to give up force armor to Luo Feng back then. Such events went to show that true treasures such as force armor and Blade River Luo were very precious. So precious, in fact, that great beings like Flame Emperor and Primal Chaos City Leader coveted them. Yet only universe supreme beings such as Ancestor and Sitting Mountain Guest had the magnitude of boldness to use such precious treasures as the stakes in a bet. "You are one of the top 9 powers in the universe, Ancestor of Space Beast Alliance. You can't be that petty," teased Sitting Mountain Guest. "I am waiting for that True Treasure series of yours." Ancestor cast a look at Sitting Mountain Guest. His expression revealed his heartache. Even a being as great as Ancestor would feel the sting of this loss. Previously, when he had been so confident that he would win the Pinnacle True Treasure from Sitting Mountain Guest, he had not expected that he would lose the gamble. "Fair is fair," Ancestor said. "This True Treasure series is one I can still afford to lose. According to our agreement, I shall bestow this True Treasure series to Luo Feng." "Yes." Sitting Mountain Guest smiled and nodded. "That's right. Bestow it to my disciple." Ancestor turned to look at Luo Feng. "Luo Feng." "Ancestor." Luo Feng replied respectfully. He did not consider defeating Ancestor something to be proud of. It was, after all, only to fulfill a gamble. If Ancestor were to display his true power, his ability to ensure that whatever order he gave would be effectively enforced would have rendered Luo Feng powerless with no way to fight back. If one was willing to pay the price, he could even kill a universe master. "Look!" Ancestor pointed in midair, and a black beast figure suddenly appeared. Luo Feng looked carefully. It was a wild beast that was black from head to toe. It had 4 powerful hooves and claws, as well as sharp fangs that pointed to the sky and a single horn on its forehead that gave off a shiny gleam. Its body was covered with layers of armor, as though it were filled with limitless magical power. Luo Feng was completely captivated at first glance. It was truly a stirring beauty. The black wild beast was around 300 feet tall, and it landed right in front of Luo Feng. It was then that Luo Feng realized, to his astonishment, that this was a dead creature. It was lifeless. Ancestor walked over and caressed the leg of the gigantic beast. "This is my true treasure series. I named it Beast God Armor." Sitting mountain guest looked on with great pleasure, then laughed aloud. Ancestor cast him a glance before turning to look at Luo Feng. "Your teacher is gloating, but it's to be expected. Previously, because of this true treasure series, there was chaotic battling all over. Your teacher was so scheming. He launched a sneak attack and immediately fled the scene. I had to pay quite a sizable price to defeat that adverse universe, and finally, I managed to obtain this true treasure series." Listening on, Luo Feng felt his excitement rising. It was as though he had personally undergone this battle of universe supreme masters. This true treasure series consists of a total of 526 true treasures, of which 521 are ordinary true treasures, 4 are senior true treasures, and the remaining one is a top-tier true treasure, Ancestor explained. The sharp fangs and scales on its body, for instance, can be dismantled and used individually. Combining everything to form one body, its power is massive. Luo Feng was shocked. 526 true treasures to form one true treasure series. It was said that Primal Chaos City Leader's 1,000 Treasure River was formed by 1,000 true treasures put together, and this, in Luo Feng's eyes, did not pale in comparison. Moreover, out of these 526 true treasures, one was at the top-tier level. "Breaking this down, the horn alone is a top-tier true treasure," said Ancestor. "And once combined with the power of a few hundred other true treasures, its power will skyrocket." Ancestor gave a sentimental sigh. By placing this true treasure series on one's godly body, every part of the godly body becomes a weapon ready to attack. It is definitely the most suitable tool for a great being who wants to cultivate the Beast God path and become a universe master. I named it Beast God Armor, and had planned to bestow it to one of the universe masters from my Space Beast Alliance that I found to have great potential. Ancestor looked at Luo Feng. "Now, it's yours." Luo Feng felt his heart pounding faster. "Beast God Armor." "Thank you, Ancestor," Luo Feng said, showing his gratitude respectfully. Ancestor smiled and nodded, and with one wave, the black beast figure flew over to Luo Feng. A golden horned beast appeared on Luo Feng's shoulder. At this moment, his golden horned beast body had temporarily put away the force armor, Shawu wings, the 9 Tiger River, and the other treasures, storing them in the world ring. It swooped down while exerting its godly power, speedily encircled the black beast figure to brand the beast with its life imprints. The black beast figure was instantly broken up into several hundred true treasures, all black in color, which flew over to Golden Horned Beast at top speed and settled on him. There, the true treasures fully integrated into Golden Horned Beast's body, covering every inch of him. In an instant, Golden Horned Beast transformed into a gigantic beast that was jet black all over. The scales covering every inch of his godly body were like knife blades. Even his fangs grew tremendously. The 5 sharp horns originally on his forehead had become 6. The middle horn was the longest, with a length of approximately 1.5 feet. At this juncture, Golden Horned Beast still maintained his miniaturized godly body, which was 3 feet long. Luo Feng's consciousness was cheering with joy. Wonderful. Those sharp claws. That tail. That godly body. And those sharp horns. Everywhere, every part of it was a true treasure. This true treasure series was truly deserving of being considered most compatible with the Beast God path. Furthermore, Beast God Armor had incredible defensive power. It was essentially an attack-type true treasure, and its defensive power was comparatively weaker. Yet its defensive power would still be on par with ordinary treasures of a top-tier true treasure defense armor. The instant Luo Feng branded the armor with his life imprints, beast god armor transmitted some ancient information, including its actual name. Luo Feng was secretly confused. This beast god armor was originally named Northern Rock. What a strange name. Many treasures had original names, such as Silver Dragon Phantom and Golden King Armor. However, their new users would normally give them other names, such as Ancient Boat Galaxy and Golden Armor. Beast God Armor's original name had been Northern Rock. Regardless of what its original name was, this Beast God Armor is indeed the most suitable one for my golden horned beast body. Excellent. Roar. Golden horned beast got worked up, and could not help letting out a roar of excitement. Ancestor nodded with satisfaction. Luo Feng, come here. Sitting Mountain Guest shouted out. Luo Feng obeyed immediately. Sitting Mountain Guest took Luo Feng aside and changed the universe law of the surroundings. If Ancestor wanted to listen to their conversation, he could, of course, make use of the universe laws to forcibly suppress this, but Ancestor would not go to that extent. It was obvious that Sitting Mountain Guest had something to discuss with his disciple in private. Teacher, Luo Feng said as he sat down beside Sitting Mountain Guest. Just a short 180 million years to succeed. Well done. Sitting Mountain Guest nodded his approval. You are stronger than your second brother. Luo Feng listened submissively. Back then, I made you the star map, but looking at you today, I'm afraid it will no longer be of much help, Sitting Mountain Guest said. Although you may only be a pinnacle undying now, you are highly accomplished in the studies of secret engravings. You are already at a strategically advantageous position. If you were to move on to studying the law path, in an extremely short period of time, you will be able to achieve a breakthrough and become a universe knight. Even if making your way past the threshold to be a universe knight may somewhat affect you, 1,000 years should be enough. Luo Feng nodded. He was also very confident. Studying the pictures of secret engravings had made him feel that studying the law path would be simple. It would be easy to understand. Previously, he had been restricted to only studying the engravings, because of the gamble, so Luo Feng had simply refrained from studying the law path. When you have become a universe knight, you will be using Star Tower while being new to it, but you will already be able to activate the entire Star Tower, Sitting Mountain Guest said. By then, with Star Tower, this star map will be useless. Luo Feng nodded and could not help asking, Teacher, does this mean that I have to undergo another ordeal to obtain the 5th black metal board of the 9-volume manual? To obtain the 3rd black metal board, Luo Feng had sent himself to Ice Hell. To obtain the 4th, he had fallen into this beast god sector. No, said Sitting Mountain Guest. Then he added with a smile, if your teacher's methods are all so easily fathomed, could I still be called a teacher? Luo Feng was taken by surprise. In terms of training through ordeals, this beast god sector has put you through enough, Sitting Mountain Guest said. 180 million years, you can now create a universe master ultimate technique. Based on your studies on pictures of secret engravings and the law path, we have mutual confirmation. That's enough. What about the 5th black metal board? Asked Luo Feng. He could not wait to get his hands on the 5th black metal board right away. When the time comes, you will know. Sitting Mountain Guest said. Luo Feng was left with no other choice. Sitting Mountain Guest looked at Luo Feng with a satisfied expression. Continue to work hard. Your power is extremely strong now, but just wait until the day you use Star Tower. No one in this universe will be able to look down on you. As your teacher, I have hopes for you to become even stronger. Yes, teacher, said Luo Feng. He was expectant, too. Over the course of these 180 million years, he had undergone a total transformation. He was no longer a weakling unarmed with battling techniques, who could only depend on setting his godly being ablaze to obtain power when facing his enemies, hoping that his enemies' powers would be consumed before he was finished. Consuming his opponents to death was only achievable in the land of extremists, because that was a place where no one could send out calls for help to other great beings of their races. However, in other places, such as the original star, when one met with danger, it was always possible to obtain help from other great beings. After all, every supreme being was important. Sitting Mountain Guest turned his head, transmitting his voice to Ancestor, who stood in the distance. Space Ancestor. Thank you for all these years. Now that he has met my expectations, I will take him and leave this place. There's no hurry. Wait a moment. Ancestor was by their side in a flash. Sitting Mountain Guest looked at Ancestor. There is something else. Nothing to do with you. Ancestor looked at Luo Feng. I have something to tell Luo Feng. He is my disciple, said Sitting Mountain Guest. How is this unrelated to me? Luo Feng, from how I see it, I think you should still focus on staying within humans. But Sitting Mountain Guest was still mid-sentence, when he suddenly started laughing. Luo Feng, he said, since Space Ancestor has something to tell you, you should stay and chat with him. I will wait for you here. Then we can head back to the primal universe. Yes, teacher, Luo Feng replied. Right. It was time to head back to the primal universe. Sitting Mountain Guest walked off into the distance, and Luo Feng followed him. He bowed to show his respect, then addressed him. Ancestor, he said. Ancestor looked at Luo Feng and asked directly, has the thought of leaving the human race ever crossed your mind? Luo Feng had known that Ancestor of the Space Beast Alliance wanted to admit him, but he hadn't expected Ancestor to be so straightforward. No, Luo Feng answered without hesitation. It would have been ridiculous for him to say yes. The human race treated him with great generosity, and besides, after 100,000 years, Earthlings had been spread across the entire Ganwu universe, and they had blended in the human race family. Besides, Luo's family had had people reach all the regions in the universe. How was it possible for him to break away from the human race like that? He needed to think about his parents and his wife. Ancestor was dazed for a moment, but then nodded. Ah. I almost forgot that you're still fairly new. Your family and friends are still alive. Yes. Luo Feng nodded. How about this? Ancestor continued. Your golden horned beast can join my Space Beast Alliance. He can be known as Golden Mountain Knight. This won't affect anything you have within the human race, just as you can call for help on the original stars as a human, and you can also call for help as a space beast. From now on, you'll have two powers to support you. However, said Luo Feng, I'll also bear responsibilities from both sides. It was beneficial for Luo Feng to join a new power. However, he would also bear new responsibilities. He understood why Ancestor wanted him to join the alliance. Once he became a universe knight, his godly body would be close to some universe masters, as he had reached the perfect life gene level. And together with ultimate techniques of universe masters, a top-tier set of true treasures, and pinnacle true treasures, he would be much stronger. And once he became a universe master, he would rival the top-tier universe masters like Primal Chaos City Leader. Besides, he had Sitting Mountain Guest behind him to help. How could he not draw Luo Feng to his side? Yes, the alliance gives you assistance, and meanwhile, you will need to bear some responsibilities. Ancestor looked at Luo Feng. Great power comes with great responsibility. What you think? No problem. I can bear them. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Wonderful. Ancestor nodded with satisfaction. It was better for him to have more help on the path of great beings. When he was trapped or in danger, and if the Hong Alliance couldn't help him in time, he would now have the Space Beast Alliance. Besides, Luo Feng had gone to Space God Mountain once, and the members of the Space Beast Alliance were like brothers, contrary to the strict hierarchy in the human race. Just when Ancestor and Luo Feng reached an agreement, Sitting Mountain Guest walked towards them. I didn't hear your conversation, he said, but it seems that you've successfully admitted him, Space Beast Ancestor. Master, Luo Feng greeted Sitting Mountain Guest. Luo Feng, did that old man give you some benefits? Asked Sitting Mountain Guest. He was being quite blunt. Luo Feng was smart enough to say, not yet. Sitting Mountain Guest turned around and glared at Sitting Mountain Guest. Your alliance will definitely bestow a universe knight with great potential a true treasure if you find one. How come this disciple of mine didn't get one? It's lucky for you space beasts that my disciple has joined your alliance. Ancestor was dazed. I just gave. Don't mention the beast god armor, Sitting Mountain guest scolded. That was because of the bet you lost. That's not something your alliance gave to Luo Feng. There was, indeed, a rule within the alliance that a universe knight with great potential would be bestowed with a true treasure if he didn't have one. However, the alliance wouldn't waste true treasures if the individual in question had already had one. They needed to earn them through their contributions to the race. As for Luo Feng, he had a top-tier set true treasure, so obviously, he didn't lack true treasures. Ancestor looked at Luo Feng. Ha ha. It makes sense. Luo Feng has already stood at the top among the universe overlords. It is indeed lucky for my alliance to have him. Luo Feng, you should know that no matter which power you join, you need to exchange true treasures with your contributions. Even if your great potential deserves true treasures, the one bestowed to you won't be precious. Luo Feng nodded. It was like Bark Mirror Emperor. He only had an ordinary true treasure armor. Your golden horned beast doesn't need true treasures anymore, said Ancestor, but your original earthling body is better at close combat. I know that you've been using spiritual force weapons. I'll give you a senior true treasure that's a weapon for close combat. Thank you, Ancestor, Luo Feng responded. He would definitely take a free true treasure. It was more than enough to have a senior true treasure weapon for close combat. So stingy of you, Sitting Mountain guest murmured. Sitting Mountain guest, unlike you, I have an entire space beast alliance to take care of, Ancestor said with resignation. If you think the true treasure I gave him is not good enough, you should give something better. Rest assured, I'll definitely give him a better one. Sitting Mountain guest glared at Ancestor jokingly. What kind of close combat weapons do you need? Ancestor asked Luo Feng. A sword, said Luo Feng. I'd like it to look like this. He pointed to the sky, and his godly power concentrated, forming the shape of a ghost sword. I don't have one that's exactly like that. How about this one? Ancestor waved his right hand and transported a true treasure from somewhere else. The sword was slightly bent. The handle was purple, and there were complex patterns on it. It looked like a two-handed sword in the shape of a saber. The blade part is close to the one you want, but the handle is longer, said Ancestor. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Great. Take it. Ancestor smiled, and the ancient blade flew toward Luo Feng. He penetrated it with his godly power, and information flooded his mind. The sword was called Cutting Pearl Sword. Cutting Pearl, Luo Feng held the sword and slashed the space. There were cuttings left in the space it touched, which satisfied Luo Feng. It was like the first time, when he used the ghost blade on Earth, which was exciting. This is the information about our Space Beat Alliance. Ancestor threw a golden book towards Luo Feng. There are many other gathering places for our alliance aside from Space God Mountain. Every gathering has a portal to Space God Mountain. You can leave some keepsakes in the gathering places and transport yourself there, and thus, to Space God Mountain anytime. Be sure to come back to Space God Mountain sometimes, at least to get keepsakes from Golden Horn Master and Xianmia Master so that you can get some help from them when you're in danger. You belong to the bloodline of the Golden Horned Beasts. I understand. Luo Feng nodded. There were different bloodlines in Space Beast Alliance, and the leaders of his bloodline were Golden Horn Master and Xianmia Master. I'll leave with Luo Feng, then. Sitting Mountain guest asked. Sure. Ancestor smiled. I'll send you two back, it'll be faster. Space and time became twisted. Suddenly, Luo Feng and Sitting Mountain guest disappeared and reappeared elsewhere. We've been transported back to the original universe, said Sitting Mountain guest. I'll separate us from the universe operation law temporarily. Sitting Mountain guest looked at Luo Feng and added, after a while, when the universe operation law senses the change in your life gene level, there'll be a sharp change in your golden horned beast. Your godly body will become significantly stronger, and will reach the perfect level like last time. But there won't be inherited techniques this time. No inherited techniques. Luo Feng was confused and disappointed by this. That's right. Sitting Mountain Guest nodded. Bestowal of a supreme inherited technique is a great opportunity for great beings who reach the perfect life gene level. Their minds will be drawn to the center of the universe origin, and they'll receive an inheritance. Your mind has already been given an inheritance, so you don't get a second chance, nobody does. Luo Feng understood. Besides, it means nothing to you. Sitting Mountain Guest shook his head. One supreme inherited technique is enough. And you've created an ultimate technique of universe masters. If you need more techniques, just create them. Luo Feng nodded. When you can drive Star Tower, you won't need any supreme inherited techniques. Sitting Mountain Guest smiled. When you can drive all the complex engravings in Star Tower, those techniques will mean nothing to you. Luo Feng nodded. Although he was already a high achiever in techniques, those engraving sculptures in Star Tower still looked quite intricate. No wonder it was a supreme true treasure. If he would be able to use Star Tower in the future, all he needed to do was drive the engravings in Star Tower, as Sitting Mountain Guest said. This is a token. Sitting Mountain Guest threw Luo Feng a token that looked like a blue stone. Luo Feng took it. It was specially made by me, and it's an ordinary true treasure, said Sitting Mountain Guest. Just put your mind into it if you need to connect to me. I'll receive it instantly. Okay, said Luo Feng. Go back to your god country now. It'll take you a lot of energy to become more than 55,000 miles tall from 600 miles, and you need to prepare those energies by yourself. Luo Feng nodded. He knew that the universe operation law would only evolve his godly body. As for the energy he needed for evolution, last time, it was world energy that remote ocean had absorbed to evolve. Go, said Sitting Mountain Guest. Yes, teacher. Luo Feng could clearly sense his god country, and where his original earthling body was. Suddenly, his original earthling body sent an undying slave through god country. Luo Feng left in the green light of god country transportation. After 3 teleportations through space ripples, Luo Feng returned to his god country. He could already feel the power from universe operation law. Golden horned beast, wearing beast god armor, roared above the remote ocean. His bones, flesh, horns, and muscles started to bulge sharply, and he began to absorb all the godly power in the boundless remote ocean. This video will end here.